perspective, you look at this person and he looks like he's crazy because every time he hits it, nothing happens. He just keeps hitting the stone, but nothing except the stone's not moving. He just keeps pounding and pounding the stone. He hits it 100 times, nothing. But on the 101th time, it cracks. And that's an analogy for all of us to live by. It's not about what you're seeing. It's about putting that grind and putting that work in. Because if you wouldn't have hit it 100 times, you wouldn't have been able to get to the 101th where it actually cracked for you. So that's a great analogy for our careers. You just got to keep grinding. You got to keep hustling. And you keep doing the work, something happens. You will crack your stone eventually. It might not be the way you want it cracked, but it will crack. So I started doing that with Indie Film Hustle. I started pounding it in a way that nobody in my niche of independent filmmaking tutorials or education had seen before. I came out with guns a-blaring, and within a month, I was already getting 20, 30,000 visitors to my site. And that was within 30 days, purely because of all the stuff I'd learned. And I was I was relentless. I mean, it was just pounding. If you think I'm bad now, like, with the amount of content, I was putting out two posts a day. It was me by myself, just pounding it. I designed the website myself. I did everything myself. So I just kept going and going. And then the podcast was always part of the plan because that was going to be my method, because I wasn't comfortable yet to be on camera to, just talk to camera. I just wasn't comfortable. I felt podcasting was a great place for me to be. So I launched the podcast, and then within 3 months, the podcast becomes the #1 filmmaking podcast on iTunes. Because, again, the pounding of it. And I looked around, and I started off with 1 episode a week. But I looked around, and I said, well, no one's doing 2 episodes a week. I'll do that. And because I was able to do 2 episodes a week at the very beginning, I just dominated the space because there's nobody else putting out the kind of content I was. And then slowly but surely, I started getting better guests, and I started talking about things that nobody was talking about, and kept going and going and going to the point where it just took off. And I started getting a lot of people listening and started getting downloaded a lot, and sponsored showed up. And it was all part of a business strategy. I mean, I had multiple revenue streams. I had courses and other things, affiliate market. There was a lot of things that were coming in. So that was the business, and I started from that point and just kind of grew there. And I know this is an artistic podcast about the art form. This is an art form to me. Like, this side of the art, is what I love doing. I love the marketing. There's art in the marketing, creating not only the content, but also how you do it, how you move it, like the moving parts of it. To me, it's a dance. It's a symphony. And I love doing it. I love this part. Like, that's why, with the whole film entrepreneur thing, when you're thinking about a movie like a business, there's 1,000 moving parts in a business. Well, a lot of times filmmakers only think about the movie as the one product. And that's not the way to look at it, especially in the world we're going into, which we'll talk about later. But I started pounding it. And then it just kind of kept growing and growing. And, I would have months that I would do really well financially. And then it would just kind of like peak and then peak. And then I oh man, if I could make that much money a month, that would be great. But then every time it peak, it's the what's that word? The line that it would drop, the new norm, would always be a little bit higher and a little bit higher. So then all of a sudden I started maintaining a sustainable growth period. And I kept doing it. Like, I literally got called by all the filmmaker websites. Like, literally, they email, I'm like, who the hell are you? Where the hell did you come from? I was a hurricane. I was a force of nature. But that's who I am. And I was being very authentic with the way I am. This is not for everybody. You can't be me and I can't be you. It's what I've been gifted. This is my special sauce. And that's why my audience reacts to me the way they do, because of who I am. It's not only the information, but how I present the information. And that's something that so many people, not only in this space, but generally in life, they try to hide away from who they are. As an artist, they hide. They try to imitate other people. They try to hide themselves. But the point is that you've got to embrace who you are, because that's your special sauce. That's something that you can't compete with. People always, I have people who consider me competitors in the podcasting space, in the YouTube space, in the blogging space. And I look at them, I'm like, dude, you can't be me, and I can't be you. Like, there isn't anybody else like me, and there's nobody else like you. You've got to be really honest with who you are as a person and express that honesty and authenticity, because that's what audiences want. They want authentic. They want something authentic, and that goes for art as well. The best art is raw, real, authentic, not pretentious, not hiding behind things, not copying, or not trying to be something you're not. That's not what great art is, in movies and paintings and music and everywhere. So that's where Indie Film Hustle kept going. Then I opened up Bulletproof Screenwriting, which was the screenwriting aspect of things. And I opened up that podcast, which became a really popular screenwriting podcast. And I didn't even put a lot of energy into that one. That one kind of exploded on its own right, because nobody was talking about screenwriting like I was talking about it. And I don't consider myself, I write, but I don't consider myself a professional screenwriter. I've never sold a script or anything like that. And I lay myself out there. I interview people about it. I interview about the craft. I interview about this or that, or the business aspect of things. But I'm no expert other than what I've learned over the years by interviewing some of these masters and talking about it. So I do have a lot of knowledge about the craft, but it's not what I do. I have other... You see, I'm not projecting myself as the guru of screenwriting. I'm not. I present myself the way I am, authentically. And that kind of grew, and then I opened up Indie Film Hustle TV, which is a streaming service. It's like Netflix for filmmakers and screenwriters. And then recently I opened up Filmtrepreneur, which is a whole brand new website, brand new podcast, brand new YouTube, and a new book as well that's focusing on the business sides of things. I can keep talking, so stop me.
This is what I want to ask. How has your podcast made you a better filmmaker?
The best lesson I've learned from my podcast is the whole concept of pounding that stone, of doing the things that you feel that don't make a difference, but when you add them all up, make a difference. It's that grind. It's that showing up every day to do the water. Do the work. Excuse me. There's another book by that same author called "Chop Wood, Carry Water," and it's about basically, this guy wants to be like a samurai archer, and he wants to just get into the archery, and they're like, no. You take a couple years of chopping wood and carrying water. You're not ready for that yet. Like, do you ever see that documentary Jiro Dreams of Sushi?
No, not yet.
So good. Oh my God, it's so good. It actually made me start eating sushi back when I ate fish. But this master, he's the only sushi chef ever to get a Michelin star. Ever. So that's how good he is. And his restaurant's literally in a subway in Tokyo. So it's unpretentious, but 3-4 months to get in. And you sit there and you just sit there and you basically eat whatever he gives you. And you got to stay quiet. It's like soup Nazi. But when you're done with his course, your life is altered. I mean, that's how good he is. But the point of the reason I'm bringing that movie up is because when you apprentice with him, you can't touch fish for 3 years. You can't touch a fish for 3 years. You will have to master rice. You will cook rice for 3 years before you touch a fish. In the world that we live in today, how many filmmakers are willing to cook the rice, to chop the wood and to carry the water? Everybody wants the lottery ticket. Everybody wants to get there faster, hack the system. I wasted a lot of my years doing stupid shit like that. Excuse the language. Doing stuff like that. I wasted my time because I kept trying to hack the system. But if I would have just sat down and started doing the work without an attachment to outcome, to do the work for the sake of doing the work, that's what it's about. Because every time you make a short, it's not going to blow you up. Steven Spielberg is not going to come down from Mount Hollywood and say, you shall direct. That's not the way the world works. Does it happen every once in a blue moon? Absolutely. Can I count it on my one hand or two hands? Yes. Over the course of decades, how many times that's happened. Okay? But it's about pounding that stone, about carrying that water and chopping that wood. You got to keep doing those innate things. So reading a book every day, listening, taking courses every day, going out, shooting short films just to shoot them. Not to show them, to shoot them. I always love telling the story of Robert Rodriguez, who's a mythical figure in the independent film space. Before he shot El Mariachi, he had shot already probably 25 or 30 short films that he never showed anybody to understand and learn the craft. So by the time he got to his first short film, which was Bedhead, he had already learned so much from making these little VHS movies with his family, which he edited between two VCRs, that he was able to understand the tool set. He was able to understand that he was cooking the rice. And that's what it takes. Not many filmmakers are willing to do that. That's why every single one of these gods, these filmmaking gods, the Nolans, the Finchers, the this, the that. Fincher was a commercial director for decades. Ridley Scott was working in commercials for decades. Tony Scott was working in commercials for decades. Michael Bay, Antoine Fuqua, whether you like their movies or not, they are craftsmen. They are craftsmen. And they understand their craft impeccably. Regardless if you like their movies or not, that's irrelevant. Can they tell a story, a visual story? Can they make a movie? Absolutely. Like we were talking earlier, can you turn off the volume on most of those films and still understand what's going on? Absolutely. They're visual storytellers. It's because they cooked their rice. It took them decades. Ridley Scott was 40 or 42 or something like that when he made the Shootist. Okay, that was his first movie. And then Tony, I think, was in his late 30s, early 40s when he made The Hunger. And then he did Top Gun and so on, and then really did Blade Runner and Alien and all these other movies that took him to another place. But they're masters. But it took a long time to get to that place. And so many filmmakers are afraid of what people will say if I show them this bad movie. Don't show them. Do it for the sake of learning. Do it for the sake of understanding your craft. That's what it takes. People ask me, Alex, how can you shoot a movie for $3,000? I got 25 years of cooking the rice, man, under my belt. That's what allows me to go out and shoot that, because I can do 20 jobs at a proficient level. And I'm able to do that. And I made my second movie in 36 hours. And I was able to structure together a narrative film while shooting at Sundance. Completely guerrilla. Can everybody do that? No. That's something that my skill set allowed me to do, mixed with a lot of other things that I have that are innate to me. But I was cooking the rice all these years. All this stuff that I do with Indie Film Hustle, it was years of marketing that I'd been doing in my own world. I mean, when I say marketing, I was trying to convince a girl to go out with me. That's marketing. That's marketing. That's persuasion. That's what that is. That's the core of what we do. Then understanding product. And, when I was working at the video store, working with customers, understanding their needs, working with customers, like all of that stuff. I'd been building these tools for years, and it just took something to galvanize it all for me to explode out with Indie Film Hustle. And I've been very blessed with the response of it. But at the end of the day, it is a business. But at the end of the day, when I started off, I wanted to do it as a business. But I really, truly wanted to help filmmakers. And people hear that in my voice. They feel it in the work that I do. I mean, you listen to me, obviously. You've told me you listen to me. So when you first listened to me, what made me stand out? And I'm not trying to stroke my ego or anything. I'm trying to make a point.
It was your authenticity. I did feel a sense of caring. I'm like, wow, this guy... We're very similar. I mean, it's not just in age and name, but the same thing of going through life struggles and having a passion for film, and it showed. And you cared about your guests, each one you had on, and I like that you had such a variety and spoke to them, and especially the one episode where you were so upset about. He knows the one I'm talking about, the starving artist thing.
The episode 88, sir. That's my infamous. Yeah. Why are filmmakers so effing broken? What can they do to fix it? That one really pissed me off. I still, it's one of the most downloaded episodes I ever did. And for anyone listening, I just got so upset about something that happened that I saw the artist that was starving. There was no reason for her to be starving. And I can't handle this anymore. So I came up with this set of 7 steps that you will succeed in your art if you do these 7 things. And I just kind of came up with it on the day. I was really pissed.